I'm getting on to some quick questions, which is, what's that one jingle or ad song which, you know, in your childhood you must have heard and you have not forgotten, and why?
Right here. You and I, of course. That was the first one. That was the first one. We were like, what is that? Is that an ad? Is that a song? You know, if you didn't see the film or anything like that, you just heard it playing. That was the first for me, for sure.
Correct. तेरा तो childhood था वो. Correct.
Same here, actually. Yeah.
You and I.
Yep. Absolutely.
You and I.
Now you don't say you and I.
No, for me it was, I've grown up listening to Lifeboy, Vajradanti, Vico Vajradanti, and
Wow.
Ashok Patki.
Yeah.
The legend.
Ashok Patki, of course.
Vanraj Bhatia.
Vanraj Bhatia.
Yeah, Vanraj. Hamara Bajaj.
Yeah, I think for me also.
Hamara
I think for me also it was Hamara Bajaj was like the first iconic.
Milesur also, I think for me.
For me, what stands out is that Purab se Surya Uga. I think that's Ashok Patki, I
Who
think.
was Milesur?
Kavita Krishnamurthy sang that.
Louis Banks.
Yeah.
Phenomenal composition, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Doordarshan, that was our childhood.
Amazing.
Once a week, Sunday.
So the next question is, if you could collaborate with anyone in the world, who would that be?
Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Yes, my favorite.
Probably Quincy Jones. I mean, in the same vein, but like...
Both are dead.
Yes, but it wasn't specified live or dead.
Pat Metheny.
Pat Metheny.
Wow.
You can come to him.
I call him Pat. WhatsApp, I said, na? Hi, Pat.
I think for me, I would not like to collaborate, but I just want to sit and watch and study. Would be A.R. Rahman.
Nice, nice.
And maybe Paul McCartney.
Yeah, I wanted one Indian name, you know?
Yeah. For me, it's right now, I've roamed the world and I've come back home. Jyoti Noora.
Wow.
I love her voice and I haven't done anything with her. I'd love to work with her.
Wow.
I think Abida Parveen would be that one person for me.
So, fun question, which is, can you recall the most bizarre or funniest client request you have ever received?
Make me a yellow sound.
Yellow sound.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I was working on a little yellow commercial and Walter Lobo, rest in peace Walter, came to me and said, make me a yellow sound. And I went home that day, which means he got a yellow sound.
Yellow.
It's an advertising thing.
Yellow sound.
Yellow sound.
Yeah, yellow.
For me, it wasn't a request, but I remember there was somebody from the agency who had come and he was sitting in the room while I was composing. And about 10 minutes later, he left with a big smile on his face and he told the director, this music director is amazing, he's so good, you hear what he's done and all. And the director walked into the room and he just heard some piano piece or something. And the agency guy was like, nahin yaar, wo sound baja do, wo pehle wo tick 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 wala sound. And I realized he was talking about the click track. It was no music at all, he just liked the sound of the click.
I think ये हमें किसी ना किसी के साथ में एक दफा जरूर हुआ है शायद लाइफ में. वो जो टक 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 वो कहाँ गया?
वो कहाँ गया?
The problem is you can't use it as an instrument now, yeah. Anywhere, the wood block or whatever.
Yes.
You know?
Because it sounds like click track.
Yeah.
You know, in the film, there was this thunder and, lightning. So obviously, we use whatever Hollywood edge and those sound effects. So the agency person said, no, this sound effect sounds too American. I want Indian lightning.
Indian lightning, yes.
Yes.
Of course.
What and what's that? Indian lightning.
I didn't know.
Oh,
But I also went home.
It's old filmy lightning.
हाँ, वो Indian है.
Yeah, more.
It's basically what Rasool spent his lifetime doing.
Yes.
Making sound design.
Abhishek?
I don't remember mine, but a session artist, Jitu ji, told me once. He's like, Jitu ji, he was playing for a soap commercial and the client said, मुझे थोड़ा साबुन take दीजिए. Sabun take. Played like soap on the violin.
Soap,
meant smooth, but
yeah.
Play like soap.
I think you must have got many.
I've got many weird things. I mean, the one which I remember was there was a creative. I don't want to take his name. He came and
he
he
would
told,
know.
Maybe.
सबके तो नाम ले लिया अब तक तूने.
Take the name. No.
No.
It's okay. Create some controversy.
So he told me can I have a different instrument or a different sound which we have never heard? So I told him and the director was like, yeah, we can try that. I said, come on, I'm a composer, I'm not a luthier. I'm not here to make a new instrument. What's there, it's there.
Yeah, this is very common actually. Can we hear an instrument
Yeah.
that we've never heard before?
Yeah. Something different.
Yeah, something completely that's never been heard.
तो मैं बोलता हूँ मैगी केचप ले लो. It's different.
No, earlier at least we would try and give it a thought. Now I say there's no such instrument that hasn't been used here. Everything's here. So there's nothing
Yeah.
new. Or kya? You have to end the conversation.
I don't
here.
know about that though. I think, I mean, at least of late, I mean, since music has become, or at least a lot of popular music is so production driven, I
Yeah,
think
with
there's
the- with-
so many, like, I mean, it's about processing a sound or using a synth or something. I mean, I don't think they literally mean use an instrument. I think it's just a lack of ability to communicate the idea
They
in a
came
way
from
that
instrument. Now electronically.
Right. I mean, even on organic sound, if it's treated in a way that,
Fair enough.
you know.
No, you guys remember there was a phase like when all the references and everything used to be Amelie. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the new sound was mandolin,
Yeah.
which is there since the
Yeah.
12th century.
Yeah.
Can you share some interesting anecdote of iconic jingle or composition that you took a huge risk with going against the clients? Like, it's like, you know, you created something, which is, I'm talking about your own track, which actually was not the brief, but it just became big and you guys did not, nobody expected that. Oh, okay, fine. Maybe some reference was also given, but it just became big. Maybe some fighting, maybe some arguments with the director, with the agency, with the client. Any anecdote from Shubhajit? Let's start with you.
I have so many. Like this
Tell
Coca-Cola
one.
ad.
One.
I mean, I actually have to say two. I mean,
Okay, give him two.
So one is this Coca-Cola ad, which was played. So this one, so this entire idea, and since both Vijay, Dharam, and all the other guys, apart from Shujoy, who was the creative director on that, only two of us were the Bengali people. So we could, like depict the entire thing of the track, like how it should sound, like how Calcutta becomes during the time of puja. So there was no brief, there was no reference, there was nothing. It was everything from scratch. So we all like wrote the lyrics together. We decided where to stop. Then we used one Robindra Songit there, which you normally see in pandals there, during Durga Puja they play. So everything was like formulated for the film. And the other one was the MP Tourism photograph film.
Yeah.
So which took us like around some 8 to 9 days to crack the entire idea. And
that's
there
a
was
beautiful
yeah,
film, yeah.
So there was a lot of fighting, and again there was no brief or something. I mean, there was one particular way like Vijay had envisioned the film. Then we did something. I mean, I came up with a completely different idea after 8 days of trial and error. And then me and Dharam, we liked the idea. Azaz and Vijay, they didn't like the idea. Then we actually waited for Mahesh, because by then we had already, missed the first deadline. So then we waited for Mahesh actually. Then it was Mahesh's vote which actually made the track go finally, the film, and then it did what it did.
Sir, any anecdote?
So we were talking about Fevicol earlier. Fevicol had an interesting story actually. We did one track, I did one track for it, which was an instrumental track actually. And it was quite nice, sitar and, very folkish, and did the whole thing, and everyone loved it, and, went. And I think at the presentation or before the presentation, Prasoon decided not to show it, or he showed it, I can't remember exactly when. And we decided to do another track. I don't know why. He said that kuch maza nahi aa raha. It was fine. Everyone loved it. And then we came back and redid the whole thing. I was devastated because I really loved that first track. And it comes back to that, the thing we were talking about earlier about rejection. And that's the kind of film that it is. It's an iconic film. We all knew it's going to be a special film. And I'm like, yaar, what else can I do to this? It's already, it's when something is already fine and perfect the way it is, how do you change it? Then we came up with this idea of what if we do almost like Rabindra Sangeet, you do a narration, like a Sutradhar, and the Sutradhar takes you through the whole journey of the sofa, and the sofa is basically personified, and it becomes the story of that sofa. And then we basically created this piece
That's
of
an
music.
incredible track.
Amazing.
It's a
Amazing
phenomenal
track.
track.
Yeah.
Amazing film also.
Yeah.
So that was the second track actually, so goes to tell you that you're not always right the first time.
Honesty.
In fact, yeah, it happened on Hutch itself also. Yeah. It
Let's
started
hear the
out as
story.
an instrumental track.
Oh, I had the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the same
Yeah.
thing.
So it was an instrumental track.
Yes.
No music,
No one expected
no singing.
lyrics on it. Yeah, first it was an instrumental track, and then everyone felt, yeah, we can add a little more emotion by adding a human voice. So that's when we started writing lyrics, and we all penned out lyrics for, collectively. The agency wrote, I think I wrote maybe you and I.
Wow, that's
in
written
this
by
beautiful
you.
world. I mean, just that you and I.
But
just
you and
that
I
phrase.
is
Exactly.
you and I
Yeah,
became
but
iconic,
no,
right?
the other lyrics were written by, meaning all collectively. So yeah, that was a.
So the track was made, and on that you fitted the
Yes,
lyrics.
the
They wrote
lyrics.
to the tune.
Wow.
In fact, even if I remember right, Cadbury Silk was an instrumental.
Ah.
So Kiss Me and all that got written later.
Kiss me.
So yeah, so when I did it, I had done another track which got bounced, which then became a very important track for another campaign.
Wow.
Another Cadbury's campaign only. So that for me that becomes, Vinyl's rejects, they're going to work somewhere for his own film.
100%.
It's always that. So coming back to Silk, so I remember it was Octavius, and then I played it to him, and then I said, so it was, and I kind of partly arranged it. So then he said, let's write, yeah. So then Manoj Shetty came on board, and then it got written, and then all these boys are having fun now with that track, you included.
Oh, yes.
And another thing, another anecdote I can think of is Men Will Be Men. Okay, that's an example where I think the reference just, made us think differently.
That whole campaign is very.
Yeah, so I saw the film and there was, Vinyl had put a ghazal on it. And I said, man, this is damn interesting. It's such a contrast. So I don't know whether the editor had put it or Vinyl had put it or whatever. So we started chatting along. He said, "Nahin, ghoom fir ke yahin pe aana hai. This is making sense." Because it can be so naughty and cheeky at the same time, So sometimes the reference can, they can catapult it to another level. Forget you having, just the idea of that kind of a track can make the whole film look very different.
In creating a music which actually goes for the presentation and get released and all that, director का कितना हाथ होता है, with the music director?
I think काफी होता है.
Huge.
I mean huge.
Yes.
It's massive. I think most of the times the track that finally you arrive at is an amalgamation of your personality and the director's personality.
Yeah.
So it's always that. It's almost impossible to eliminate it.
It can be completely driven by the director also.
Yeah.
He comes up with an idea which drives the entire film musically. And I'll give you a good example. On one film particularly, I think I only curated that track. It's the Center Fresh Tabalji wala. So it's Rajesh who had written, eventually he came to the studio and he said, how this track will start? Magaresa. It's going to start like that. And he had it was completely clear, and I said that we'll do this Jugalbandi, etc. We just had to put it together. And then Vijay Prakash came, and then, Aditya Kalyanpur on tabla. And you just had to curate it. But the idea was so driven by the director in how he wanted to tell that story and play out the comedy. So sometimes you have to join that ride and take it along,
I think it's really interesting because now we are also, in the last few years, we're also in a place where we're working with a lot of foreign directors who are really not part of the music process, which is how it works in the West, I guess. The agency is driving music.
Yeah.
And I've done quite a few, soundtracks for agencies in the UK. It's a completely different process. Director is almost invisible in a lot of those cases. And here it's completely the opposite. Like all the Indian advertising, I think most of it is driven by the director. So I feel that the entire team, music, editing, everything, we are all sort of there to support the vision of the director first.
You know why I asked this question? It was a very selfish question.
No, I think there are some directors who have incredible music taste. In fact, you learn so much from them, Rezi included, man. I don't know if those have come from your hard drives or whether those are all part of his collection or whatever, but I sometimes when I'm chilling with him, he'll play me some Vietnamese music from the 70s, which under normal circumstances, I would have never even probably typed into YouTube or said show me something in this. So I think you learn a lot from.
Like in my case also, like Bob, you guys have worked. He has a brilliant taste in music and knowledge also.
I think when you work with the director for very long, you develop a shorthand, which is very, very important, I feel. Because you don't have to explain a lot. The director doesn't have to talk to you much. You just start chatting and then ideas kind of, start you start kind of doing things automatically almost because you understand what the director's taste is. I think that's also very important, you know.
And one more question, which is like, you know, instrument, you know, when you guys use a particular kind of an instrument, for emotional, you would use something else, for you know, romance, you would use something else. For me, like, you know, rabab gives me nostalgia, you know. So what drives you to select an instrument?
I think a lot of times it's the space, the space where the ad is made on. Like if it's a Kashmir, for example, it doesn't need to be A for apple, like Kashmir hai to rubab aayega ya. Sometimes the space starts, you start from that. Okay, it's a Punjabi track. Let me try a mandolin or a tumbi. Let's see how it sounds. We can always experiment. But first thing is the space demands that. That's a starting point, I feel.
Yeah.
See, every instrument can be emotional,
Yeah.
can be aggressive, can be varied, expressions. It depends on what context you use it in and how it's used. So it's a personal choice of using instruments and all your influence of music that you have gone through the years.
Because, you know, I want this, this answer is very important because for the youngsters who are trying to be music directors, you know, or how do you guys think? It's very important that right message should go to them.
I think
you
it's
know?
got a lot to do with where you come from also. It's your own personal upbringing, what you heard, what stuff do you vibrate with as, you know, as a listener, as a composer, whatever. So for me, even I've used the trumpet so many times for emotional stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and we've used it so successfully on Cadbury's that it started becoming the sound and whatever. But that didn't come from being very intellectual about it.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt this is an instrument that expresses well. And maybe I do like the trumpet. Growing up, I've heard, I mean, R.D. Burman has been one of my favorites, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
तो वो है, कहीं पे वो ज़हन में है, वो आ जाता है. So I think it's going to be so individual for everybody. And I believe you should bring that to the table,
Yeah.
you know.
And I also feel like you've kind of evolved from using traditional instruments. So a lot of people nowadays take random sounds and make instruments out of them as well. Because technology allows for that. Like you have your samplers, you just pick a sound, whatever it is, and make an instrument out of it. And I think that's a lot, I see a lot of that being used in humor-based films.
Amazing.
So that does work.
You know, one great example is that sound score of Whiplash.
Yeah.
The predominant score is on drums, actually.
Yeah.
But it emotes so many different.
Yeah. And the other crazy one is even
expressions.
the
Good
way it's
example.
been used even in Birdman. Birdman
Yeah,
is just
absolutely.
drum solos. Man.
That's the whole score is.
It's the whole score is a drum solo, yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, see, like normally, you know, like when you need a happy moment or something, a lot of people, they come and say that, you know, just play the guitar, you know, it's a happy instrument. Like, but there are pieces like, you know, Air by Bach also, where you just play and it gives you a very melancholy mood. So I think what Rupert said, like every instrument, how you use it, for what mood, for what purpose, it depends on that.
Yeah.
Like when we play a violin, people will say it's sounding very sad, but there are pieces, I mean,
Absolutely.
that takes some
Be very
convincing.
happy.
Violin and sarangi, if you suggest,
Be very happy.
yeah, it's
can we
very
try
happy.
sarangi?
Yeah,
नहीं, ये बहुत
sarangi.
sad लगेगा.
Yeah.
पहले से ही.
पहले से
So
ही
that
sad
convincing
लगेगा.
it needs that no, you just wait for someone to come and play, then we'll take it forward. Because होता है, initially you always get the feedback that it's going to sound violin or sad. Cello is like the saddest. Unfortunately.
Yeah, like there's a notion, na, like sarod is a sad instrument, sitar is a happy instrument.
Yeah.
But both can be used for like, you know, all the
for
emotions.
happiness also, yeah. So that sarod or sitar,
No, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but even like sampling has allowed you to take an instrument and play it in maybe a range that the instrument wasn't designed for. And it sounds weird and bizarre. I mean, this goes back to even like I think the score of the first Terminator, where I think it was a Fairlight CMI or something like that, where that bah that was down was just below the range of a baritone sax or whatever. But because the sampler, at least at that time when there was, I mean, basic time correction, would stretch out that note and change the character of the sound completely, and that changed everything. Yeah, I mean, like I think the possibilities are now endless.
Yeah.
You can make anything from anything. In fact, there's a damn cool series on YouTube called 4 Producers Flip a Sample. It's Andrew Hang's channel. It's so fascinating because he'll give you something like a
he
DAW
does it like
squeak.
very regularly, like every month.
Yeah.
there's an episode.
It's really cool because, like, I mean, make a whole track out of a DAW squeak. So that's like everything from your kick, your drums, your snares, your hi-hats, to all the melodic elements, to your pads, to whatever. So I mean, it's like not an instrument that obviously anybody would have heard of before. I think it's.
So next question. One ad or film you wish you had done instead?
countless about them.
The ones I love, they've got perfect tracks. So why would I wish I did them?
You've got the fastest answer, and we approve.
Okay, so I'll go to the next question. Advertising or feature films?
Advertising for me.
Why?
I just love the process. I don't know. I love all the people, and doing something craftworthy in 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. I mean, I take it up as a challenge.
Both. Because like Dhruv said, you take a break from this, you go back to a long format, you come back, it has a, it gives you another perspective. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. But I think both, a mix of both is good, I feel, at this point of time. It's like, you learn from each other. Like, advertising gives you versatility, because your question was that how come you do, how do you do so many ads?
Yes.
Because it's different. If it's the same track every day, you get bored out. Every day is different. So that helps. Ki aaj drum and bass kar raha hu, aaj rock. Okay, today I have to do something emotional. So that works in films also, in scoring. Like Badhai Ho, like you had so many ideas. I think that advertising learning kind of worked somewhere.
I think the films allow you to paint in broad strokes. Advertising, I feel like, is like micro painting. It's like doing finessing in small little holes. So I think there's something very charming about writing themes which are 2 minutes long, which you will never get in advertising. It's very rare, and I think that is very fulfilling also. Also, what is also very fulfilling is hearing your music in a cinema hall. I mean, I remember the first time I did my film, I sunk in my seat. I couldn't believe that this was my music. I think that's what drives everyone to make films, I guess, to make cinema, is like when you see it in a hall with people. I think it has its place, but advertising, like you rightly said, is very difficult craft. It's underrated. It's very underrated, because you have to communicate an idea in a very short, densely packed with so many things in a very short period of time.
So advertising rocks, guys. Advertising rocks.
Advertising prepares you for everything.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, even though advertising, you're never working on the same genre of music on a different day, the only thing that can tend to become a little formulaic is form, is structure. You have 30 seconds or 60 seconds. You need to have, in most cases, I wouldn't say for all, you need to have beginning, middle, maybe, and crescendo in the end. Crescendo in the end, though, is like a universal that I've gotten pretty much. Like every commercial that I've ever worked on, it's very rare that you end a piece with maybe just one piano note or something. It happens. But I think in film form, although it exists in the scope of a full film, it's a little bit more freeing not to have that constraint of form. At least for
vote
me.
ज़्यादा है advertising की तरफ basically. I'm happy on
Also,
this
film का
table.
track bounce हो गया तो 4 मिनट का म्यूजिक दोबारा बनाना. Advertising 30 सेकंड फिर भी बन जाएगा.
I'm only a Ram's take also, because he's done both as well, right?
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
I'm a composer. I don't work for film. I don't work for advertising. I work for music. So
Well done.
I work for music. I will make music. I have made lots of music without.
No, but a lot of your music is like craft driven. I mean, you are doing it to film, so you have to be like.
But that's one part of, like, for example, when I made Tanha Dil with Shan, the song came first, right? So we made the song, and then it was like, okay, now we're going to figure out who's going to make the video. So we speak to Sabal and all of that. But
Correct.
it's the song first. So even in features, for me, what I tend to do is I tend to work without picture. Even on scores, oddly enough, right now I'm working without picture, because I actually feel a lot of the times the themes breathe better. And today with DAWs, you can easily edit a theme and make it fit to picture. So I actually feel that I'm a composer. I would make music even without visuals.
That's
So-
amazing.
No, I'm with him on that.
Yeah, I feel both the formats teach you something. Meaning, it's even difficult to sustain a theme for, say, a 5-minute score in a film. Likewise, it's difficult to compose a short piece of melody which will fit in a advertising context. So both teach you.
Yeah, but Rupert, our heroes,
Yes.
our heroes, Quincy Jones, he scored so many films.
Yes.
He's also produced some of the greatest records of all time. What is he? Is he a visual composer? Is he
He's
just
a composer.
He's
Yes,
just a composer.
absolutely.
So whether it's Lalo Schifrin or Ennio Morricone or A.R. Rahman or Ilaiyaraaja or anybody, you take any of the great composers, they have a huge, like S.D. Burman and R.D. Burman have a huge body of non-film work.
Correct.
So I just feel as a composer, you're a composer. You'll make music whether there's a visual or not. But that's one aspect of what you do. And in that, to be honest, between advertising and film, it's the same. it's as enjoyable. It all depends on who you're doing it with.
I said the same thing when it comes to shooting an ad and shooting a feature film. It's the same thing. The same camera, same light,
Yeah.
same everything, same everything. So it's the same thing, yeah.
It's just what you're searching for at that point in time. If you are in that frame of frame of mind where you feel like expressing more. If you're in that space, I want to say more, and I'm enjoying the, sort of a 2-minute scene or a 3-minute scene, and you're in that space, then filmmaking, being part. What I liked about being part of a film is you're part of a larger story that you're contributing to, and
it really helps in India because people then tend to hear your music.
yeah, I mean, then
Under your name,
it's very
you know what I mean?
satisfying. And then, it's like what Dhruv said, like to then at some point in time, then hear it or see your name in the theater and all. It's a different feeling altogether. I remember the first time when my family came along and we Hasi to Pasi at that time. They were all nudging me when I said, I've done ads for 14 years. Nobody did that before
Nobody
this.
did that, yeah.
Now you're like, so it's just that. It's immensely satisfying, just as ads are immensely satisfying. But I think there comes a time when you want to try something longer, larger. And it's not key once you do that, you don't come back to this. I think you keep...
You can do both.
You can do both. You keep dipping into advertising because then it keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
You start enjoying that process again. And then you take that forward to the longer format.
But do you think temperament also plays a big role? Because advertising, music directors, it's a bigger commitment when you're doing a feature film. Advertising you're doing every day. Every day you're producing a new track, working on a new film. You're making much more money, much more money what you would make it on a feature film. So do you think that temperament also plays a very, very, very big role? Depends on person to person?
100%. Temperament, and personally, what are you looking for at that point in time in your arc?
Yeah.
For example, what is it now? If you want to be satisfied with longer format, I want to get into, say, doing singles or albums or whatever. If that's the headspace you're in, then that's what you should go for, because you've already done advertising. You can dip back into it or whatever it is. It's a craft. It's an endless craft, right?
But I also feel they're two completely different beasts.
Yeah.
I don't want to give the wrong impression to anyone that it's the same. Yeah. I feel like film work, you're writing sometimes when you're doing score. I'm speaking specifically about score, not writing songs.
Yeah.
Because the song process is very different.
Very different, yeah.
You're working with a lyricist, director. There's a lot of other dynamics in play. I think when you're working on scores for films, you're writing 20 minutes of music a week, approximately 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So there is really not much negotiation for, अच्छा वो 5 seconds वहाँ पे बदल दो यहाँ पे. You're painting broad strokes picture. You're scoring 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So the process is very different. Detailing is different. Advertising is far more detailed. Film work is more thematic based. Sometimes you'll have a theme which is just 4 notes playing over 92 minutes. It's impossible to do that in advertising.
True. What kind of project do you say no to, and why? Have you guys ever said no to any?
Yeah, I've said no to, obviously, if the budget is very, very low.
So the reason is budget. Yeah.
All the from
Obviously, meaning there should be some incentive if you're anyway working. Let's be honest here. We are all working for obviously passion.
Yeah.
And you're working for your daily bread and butter as well.
Of course.
Of course, if the project is very exciting and you're very passionate about doing music for it, so be it. But there should be a little amount, meaning the least amount of respect in terms of, monetary respect as well. So if the budget is too low or nothing, but if the project really excites you, please go ahead and do it. Meaning, I would definitely go ahead and do it. But if it's something that I'm not too kicked about, and to add to it, the budget is very, very low, I would definitely say no to something like that.
Does this happen with the music director advertising I'm talking about, which is that film shoot होने से पहले film discuss करी गई है with the music director.
Yeah.
Film has been discussed before it is getting shot.
Very
Yes,
often.
yes, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And do you think that should be the process for the
100%.
filmmakers also to know this, that if you actually have a word with the music
I
director?
enjoy that the most.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that
most
really
fun.
helps. I mean, we had only done during True Callers,
Yes.
so I mean, it really helps.
Yeah. So I think that's a very important thing which we should all, I think, follow in terms
I
of.
think just to think about how like even ads are made, like quite often a writer will live with a commercial for 6 months sometimes, then they will pitch it to a client, rework it. So that's a lot of times it's 8-9 months they've lived with a project. Then they will shoot it, then there's the PPM shoot it, and then they'll come back and then you have only 1 or 2 days for audio. I think that's grossly unfair. So I feel like we should, given the fact that we all agree here and everyone who's watching it will probably agree,
Yeah, absolutely.
music is such an important part of the process. The earlier you bring in the music creative into the mix, I think that's better for the project.
Yeah, I think we should be given a little more, like some time just to think over and everything. So, as Dhruv also mentioned, like he had worked with some UK music agencies. So I went and I met few people. There's a very big house called Factory Sounds. So I was chatting with them and the creative director there. So she's the music supervisor there. So she was asking me like, so normally, like our thing is like when we get a brief from the agency, so we normally share it with 3 different composers and then we collect the scratches from them. But we don't get enough time, okay, to, we can't give you enough time to make those scratches. I said, okay, like roughly how much time? It's like around 7 to 10 days. That's the max we can give. I said, okay, you give me 7 to 10 days. I'll give you 10 options of the track. You don't need to call the other 2 people.
Yeah, so in what case would you say no to a project as such? For the time factor?
No, I think the same thing what you mentioned is like if it's not, if the project excites me and there's no money, still I would go for it because as you mentioned, like I'm a little greedy for awards and some international things. Yeah, if it helps me, to showcase my work in the international market, then why not? But yeah, or else you like pay me at least a respectable amount of money, then I will go and do.
Yeah, for me, it's always who it is.
Yeah.
Who's calling.
Yeah, that is
That's
also
all
very
it is to
important.
me. Yeah, there was no money on the Nike commercial at all, but it was Aggie and Abhinay, so no brainer. Just had to do it.
What a wonderful film that is.
It's an incredible film, and that's again, it's just it's 2 fantastic creatives. So as the third arm to that, you feel honored to be part of the ride, And as a team, you start developing a shorthand. I'm sure you guys also know this, with directors. Abhinay and I met a total of 6 times when we were working on Delhi Belly. That's it. That's all we met.
I
6
think
times.
by then you must have worked a lot with Abhinay.
Hundreds of commercials.
Yeah. So I think the pulse.
Yeah, we just knew what we just knew what we wanted. We knew how the other person thought, and I knew exactly what Abhinay had in mind. So as the edit was getting shaped, the songs were getting shaped. The songs. Forget about I signed the film and it had 1 song and background score. It ended up having 10 songs and background score. But that's because I know that I have that faith from the producer and the director. So that's when you can really push yourself.
Yeah.
And that shorthand actually changes everything because most of the times our sound, actually you're talking about that sound thing, right? How do you pick your sound?
Yeah.
A lot of the times your sound selection actually is dependent on your director's tastes as well, not just yours.
Amazing.
Like I have a very good example of an advertising director who was hardcore about it. He was like, I do this only for money. Do not try and be an artist in my studio. Do not try and be an artist on my session. But otherwise he was super fun. And he only did cosmetic commercials. He loved ambient music, like, Enigma and Ademus and now what are the new age sounds. That's what he loved. He found that out through me. Because most of the times, he would put a reference and I would be like, okay, this is that band, And I would end up having some CD with me somewhere. I would just play it to him and he's like, I love this. This is what I love. Every single commercial for him was that kind of sound. It was a sound that he loved. And that makes your life also much easier. You know what I mean? And you also get to explore that space. Because normally I would not think of making that kind of music, but I'm like, oh, it's his session. Today we're going to do
basically
this,
collaboration actually is very,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
important.
Everything.
Yeah,
And
I
also-
forgot to mention that, but that's actually a very important point also.
Yeah.
Like who's calling?
Who's calling?
It's very important.
Yeah. What is that one thing agency/production companies do while reaching out to you that you absolutely cannot stand and wish would change for the better?
Bad lyrics. I wish
Bad lyrics.
I wish the writing was better. I'm being very honest. And actually, what has happened in the last like few years, like I would say 7-8 years, I started writing a lot of the stuff that I'm producing now because the scripts that I've been getting are, and I don't mean to be like, but I have to be honest. A lot of the writers in agencies are writers and not lyric writers, and there's a big difference between,
there
as
is
we all
difference.
know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the times you'll get a script which is really a script and it's a loose lyric. It's not really a lyric. And for it to be elevated into a lyric, it needs to be written with that musicality, which, you need to have musicality.
I think what we did on Mahindra was, actually there was no song. And Dhruv and I just sat and I said, मेरे को गाना दिखता है. So he said, okay, let's write the thing.
Yeah.
What a beautiful music you did on that. Amazing.
Thank you.
So lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially there's a difference between a jingle and script. So a script is meant to do its job as a script, but if you're talking about a jingle, then it has to be written in that musicality and meter in mind.
Same. I think there was a time when we were doing Idea commercial with Hemant and you also, I think, did. Amitabh Bhattacharya was writing lyrics and he's such a beautiful writer. He would just give the meter that it becomes so nice to work on it. Kabhi to Amitabh used to sing only and sing. ये मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ. Whatever we did. Now that meter is kind of become a voiceover meter. Not always, mostly like he was saying. Now to turn a voiceover into a track, a song, or taking stuff from voiceover, it's supposed to be said, no? Like in a normal.
Yeah.
The lyricist, we kind of miss at times whether they have a nice meter to it. And you keep the script separate in words of a song. Just call a nice writer, like all of you. There's so many we would work with Pele.
I think another thing that's very crucial now, it's been happening for the last few years, is if that one thing could change, and it's a thing about process. It's not about lyrics or anything specifically like that. If people could just be in the same room, it would change everything.
Yeah.
That's very.
If the director spent the day with you while you're doing the film, because then you don't have to flesh out so much to share an idea. It can happen at a very rudimentary level. I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of that. What do you think?
The interaction.
You're like, your reference is this or this is what you want. But I'm thinking, what if we did this slant to it? And so many things get sorted with a 5-minute conversation. So this whole process of nobody being in the room, you're working in isolation and you're sending out ideas for people to hear on their phones and whenever and react to without really absorbing the process. It's changed.
It's a big.
It's changed everything
drastically.
quite
So
dramatically.
basically discussion.
Efficiency has dropped. I'll
Exchange
tell
of
you,
energy.
discussion
it
and
affects
collaboration
efficiency
for that.
completely.
Yeah.
And sometimes a good idea is fiddled with.
Yeah.
Being in the room, yeah.
Because you also feed on the reaction. You play something and they're like, oh, that's nice. What did you play? There's a nice groove. Then this is what you're liking. The whole day working on the track and sending the director and उनके दिमाग में कुछ और है, like, and then reworking.
मैं ये सब कुछ सीख के जा रहा हूँ. मैं ये use करूँगा.
Yeah, interaction is very important. Correct.
So what do you think about stereotyping? Like, it happens, that, we get stereotyped that ये emotional पे काम करता है, ये humor करता है, ये style करता है, ये, or he's like, हर मसाला पिपला मूल, वो बोलते हैं ना. So, have you guys been stereotyped?
Completely.
Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah. But so have you. You've experienced it too. It happens to all creative people.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't have to fight. I think the crucial thing coming up in the business, I figured, is that I have to look for films that help me break the stereotype. And for that film, I'm willing to work way cheaper just because I want to break that stereotype.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of strike that balance between, between commercial, demands and creative sort of satisfaction, because actually in many terms, if you keep breaking the stereotype, you actually elongate your career.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I feel as a musician, a lot of people will have a lot more money than me, but very few people will be as happy as I am. So music actually is a journey, and we got into this so that we don't have to compete. So I'm very happy to see, like, for example, Rahul and Nariman doing very well. I'm very happy to see her doing very well. These are all buddies, So I think we're in that time when we don't have to see it like that. We don't have to see it as like, cutthroat or any nonsense like that. Every generation has its time. Every generation has to express itself. And the other side of it is, whatever you are doing as a creative person, we have to stop seeing ourselves as, pigeonholed as like Rupert, Originally Rupert was a guitar player, but Rupert is such an incredible composer, and he's capable of so much. I mean, he's gone from being guitar player to producer to composer. It's a crazy journey, you know what I mean? And it's also finding your path. Insane guitar player, insane composer, insane producer. So I mean, everybody on the table is multi-talented. So it's actually, we are creative people.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the journey is, just enjoy the journey.
Funny thing is, what you're stereotyped for, you aren't that person now. You know, that's the funny thing. When you started off in your first 7-8 years, whatever you hit at that point in time, you get boxed immediately. You aren't that person 20 years down the line. Yeah, you're completely different. So in your head, your expression is so different, you know, that I think at the end of the day, then we should be channelizing what's new to you right now, what you are today.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, a lot of the times you have to be able to take a small hit.
100%.
Be able to allow yourself to express that.
I agree with
a lot
that
of the times
completely.
the marketplace doesn't know where you are.
Completely.
So you have to be able to kind of step out of your comfort zone and tell them this is where you
Absolutely.
are.
Does a music composer have to be a good singer?
Not necessary.
Not necessary?
It's about the music.
Yeah.
You either enjoy it or you face it.
Wow. Singing has a quotable quote. Yeah.
But does that help?
It helps, but it's
helps.
not necessary.
I think it
Not
helps,
necessary,
definitely.
yes. So it helps.
Of
It's
course
an
it helps.
asset. It's an asset.
asset.
It helps. You can express it better. You can sing something for somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
you sing
I think also what we call music director today is so different from the way music directors were of, you know, in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Basically, what we call music directors were songwriters, really, you know. And whom we call music directors today, they were arrangers and programmers and, you know, producers are who we call producers today. So I think the definition has changed. But somewhere, if you're in the business of writing songs, if that is your business, then having a voice is, I think, so important.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you know, you can communicate it to the lyricist, to the director instantly.
So it's like for directors, not music directors, directors, do they have to be a good actor? Doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't.
So, but if you are, then you can emote and tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes, it's the same like.
और अगर कोई एक्टर एक्चुअली में बनना चाहता होगा तो अपना सारा फ्रस्ट्रेशन निकालता होगा एक्टर्स के ऊपर जैसे मैं
It's true.
How do you deal with the artist plagiarism of your composition? Like, you know, if you have composed something and somebody has picked up, so what?
You start.
Please, you start.
Come on, guys.
We'll start and we'll end it with you.
Yeah.
No, nothing. Just
Sue them.
sue them. I mean, take action. You have to act on it. I mean, if your work is not worth protecting, it's not worth making. So I think this applies to all creative people again. You know, whether it's film, whether it's advertising, whether it's music, anything. If you can't protect your work, what's the point? Because actually, one of the things that we started, and we had a huge conversation about this in the early 2000s, about how we started licensing our work to advertising, and we started it on principle. We didn't, we started it with very small amounts, and then we started licensing our work to advertising. And at that point, by the time it was 2008, I think we all had quite a few licenses that we had, licensed to corporates and to big brands. So when there was a violation, actually it was not a personal issue. It was actually a business practice issue of like, this devalues everything I've done.
Yeah.
So you had to take a stand, and you had to act on it. But I think, it's the same thing. You go through the same chain. You fight because you're on the right, you win, and then you're out of work. Yeah, and also I think one of the beautiful things about that one time in advertising are these crazy stories that we all experience. There was a lot of pride in the room.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pride in our business, and there was a lot of pride in being part. Like if you did a session for Verma, or if you did a session for for Prasoon, or you did a session for any of the big guns, even someone who's on the way up, you felt that energy in the room that we were doing something special.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to mean everything to the world. It just needs to mean enough to you that you feel that you've done something of some worth and some pride, and you have to protect it. If you don't respect yourself, the world's never going to respect you.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the difference between pride and ego, actually. So we are all proud of our work, but we are not egoistic about it. So that I think should be
A good balance.
But do you feel in advertising we are not protected? Because it is a corporate thing we're into. So you feel there are still...
Things happen here. I did a track for Hike.
it's happening? Where something
I
got
did a track for
plagiarized
Hike,
or whatever?
Punjabi track. And Punjab mein it happens a lot, I think, I don't know. Then someone took the track, made a music video. We did like 4 lines. Paake mitra ne jacketa laita waliya, just a hook for the ad, for the end. Someone made a music video and all that, and I'm seeing Paake mitra de jacketa laita waliya, full song by Amit Man, I don't know what name was. I'm like, I called Early Man. I said, yaar, wo apna wo Hike wala track ka rights to I have the rights. We just did like a 1-year thing, and I have the song with me. So it came like pura aise chakkar leke that guy wanted to make that hook in his own voice, sing it in Punjabi video fashion. And then one day I got a call from Basha. He said, yaar, my friend, he wants to make a song and I want the rights. So by then I said, yaar, but already this is done, that is done. He said, don't worry, now it's going to be done in the legal way. So then it happened the legal way after me telling them random, like, aapko yahan se call aayega, MCI will call you, this will call you, like random things on the phone. Then the song became like, I gave the rights to Hike and then they gave it to them. It became, otherwise there was a music video out of that one small jingle, it was out. It happened twice actually. You leave a melody, see, you don't credits, no, you don't, for an ad.
Bilkul, yeah.
Kiska gaana
I know
hai?
what you mean.
See, plagiarism is ethically
Rupert ka
wrong.
song hai, kisi ko pata nahi hai.
It is,
Guy
it
will
is,
take a guitar,
absolutely.
extend it.
Either you take the rights
Yes.
and then do what you want to. Yeah.
Credit part is something we should discuss because we will never get, it always Hike's new song or Vodafone's new song. No one knows the name of the composer.
We are largely anonymous, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So someone will think, to ऐसी free domain में है, we'll make a song out of it.
Like my mother said once to me that, after the ad, why can't they put your name? I said, yeah, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times it's all part of your negotiation, and whether you can negotiate that all these things can be negotiated earlier. Corporates are open to it, but just to answer your question, the corporate sided with the superstar.
I know in your case what...
Yeah, so it's not like they were, again, I don't think the intent was bad, they were just panicking.
Or were they unaware?
No, they were not unaware. They had very expensive lawyers, but they were panicking, and that can happen. A lot of the times that can happen, which is why I think a lot of the times conversations can solve things, And the biggest problem with plagiarism actually is that somebody wants to use your work. Man, just reach out. Yeah.
Yes.
In today's day and age with Instagram and with Facebook, it's
very
almost
difficult, yeah.
impossible not to know
Absolutely.
who's done what.
And artists are very reasonable people as such, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So,
Softness is coming in the music and it's straight from the heart, basically. Yeah. So from the heart, another question coming out which says, what about AI coming in so close to us? And I don't think it has hit the music industry as of now. But
It has.
It has?
Rahul, please take the lead.
Absolutely.
Rahul and Sam,
so
please take the
We've
lead.
been using AI in different forms over
So
the last
my
15
question
years.
is it good? Is it beneficial? What do you guys think about
I
that?
think I have a take on that, which is essentially the way AI is right now. I can't speak for what it's going to become in the future. Nobody knows. But the way it is right now, which is, I think the nomenclature for that is co-piloting. It's a fantastic co-piloting tool. I use, ChatGPT for all kinds of things. There's a Synth GPT now, which is available.
Yeah.
I think there are some amazing tools. I think AI is great for objective decisions and for those kind of things, but for subjective things like making music and you can't give it, AI doesn't have taste. You have to feed it prompts for
Yeah.
it to create something. And I don't know if you've tried creating tracks, but I've started getting tracks that from agencies that they've done with AI.
Yeah.
And
It's
we've
a
done
new
an
thing
AI
which is
track. Don't
started.
listen to it, ignore it, but we've done it. So I think it's kind of there as a placeholder for them to kind of try something to see if it's kind of what it is. And it's
reached the
not
10
up to
10
par.
stage right now.
Yeah, it's
I
not-
think you
stage
need
it
that
is.
human touch in it,
You
in
absolutely
any
need
form
it.
of art for that matter. So it is definitely a tool that you can use. I think we've all been using it. I think most of our softwares have AI integrated in it, but it is something.
So you guys think it's positive that AI is coming and it's not
I
giving
think where
anybody
subjectivity is involved,
Yeah.
it doesn't hold. For the mundane stuff, it's brilliant.
But it will weed out a lot of talent.
I think it's too soon. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
still too soon to
but
say what
it is
will-
coming.
But I don't think it's just something about, in music, I think it's going to replace mundane activities for sure. But like Dhruv rightly pointed out, your taste is your taste and people are coming to you for your taste. I'm sure everybody over here has had people who've produced the track for them also. It's not like you've done everything in the process, but ultimately if that production has not stood up to your taste, you've not delivered it to your client. I mean, what is the difference between hiring somebody to ghost produce a track and having AI do it for you? There's no difference. But I mean, at the end of the day, even if AI does it, you're going to feed it whatever according to your experiences that shape you, right? I mean,
Interesting.
I also feel AI is good for certain type of music. Like, because I think all music is now, we are at a place where it's kind of pastiche. Sounds like similar, but so I think it's good for that. But if you want to create something really original and unique, and that's going to be like something which has not been done before, and you want to marry like 5-6 different things, I don't see that.
You don't see that happening.
Not right now. Not right now.
Not right
Again,
now,
that's the big caveat. I have to put it out there. God knows what's going to happen in the future. You can't predict.
Yeah.
I have a different perception on this in the sense, see, AI is inevitable. It's going to be the future in the sense it's going to come in its very, very strong form also with all the intelligence and all. But I perceive it as, AI is an intelligence, so are we. We are a unique intelligence. So what we can create, AI cannot, and what AI can create, perhaps we cannot. So it's a different form of intelligence.
Yes. But also advertising is bespoke music in a sense. You want to craft 10 seconds of this and then 8 seconds of that and then 11 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible right now.
Punctuations and all that. It's a very like how we punctuate small moments.
Exactly.
So yes, so
With your particular take on it, not just the breakup, but your particular take
Correct.
on it,
the unique
Yeah. So
uniqueness of each one.
So the next question is for Mr. Dada sitting over here.
Yes.
Do you enjoy singing or composing?
Composing.
More
I've
composing.
answered this before.
No, but I want an answer again. Say singing, no.
Why?
I want you to sing. I want you to sing.
I've left singing, but I enjoy composing.
You have not left singing. Every ad you have something or the other.
No, that's a separate thing altogether. We'll get into that later.
he invoices for that.
This is brilliant singer sitting
no.
with us.
Please.
Rahul, which is you started a band, you were playing for band. That's true, right?
yeah.
So you're playing in band and all that. It helped you when
Of
you
course,
started
tremendously,
creating
100%.
your own music.
100%. I mean, I firmly believe that music can be, but it shouldn't be created in a vacuum. I like having people around. I mean, like the name of the company is the Jam Room as well. For years, Nariman and me used to compose together before he moved to Singapore, and now we sort of do it. But I have a team that works with me as well that allows for a lot of the stuff that we have. I think multiple opinions are always like a good thing, and that stems from being in bands. I think it gives you a very early understanding of how arrangement works. I mean, and it's fun. I like that process for sure.
Amazing. Abhishek, next question is for you. If you had a choice to choose between an ad and a feature film, what would be your choice?
I'll finish the ad for 2 days and then take the feature film.
Correct. Do both, yeah.
Very
Agreed.
good answer, man.
Agreed.
Amazing.
If it doesn't get bounced and I don't have to do 7 tracks, then I'll finish it in 2 days
Great.
and move to a film.
And while that film, you will not do any more ads.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
He's setting the groundwork, you're aware. No?
एकदम personal हो रहा है question.
अभी कुछ वो बाद में बाहर बात
बात करते हैं.
So एक छोटा सा कुछ था, which is I don't know how will that be possible, but imagine like so many music directors over here, if you had to create something like right now over here for Good Ad Matters, so what would that be? Like, like, do you guys think something is coming and like, some with your mouth, with the...
We'll start with the percussionist. Me and Amar will start a
We'll accompany whatever they come up with, we will
give the
accompany.
beat.
This is an advertising roundtable. Who's
Yeah.
putting money on the table?
And it's not round as well.
It's an oval table.
I think we'll talk about money later. Yeah, guys? Yeah. Payment हो जाएगा. कुछ create करते हैं नया.
I'm R.D. Burman.
You're R.D. Burman.
You guys start.
It'll be so
Join
amazing. No,
me.
it'll be so amazing. Just once. I think beatboxing, something, this thing.
This.
Come on, guys.
Okay.
Now lyrics.
If you want to get fatter, good ads matter. That's all I can come up with.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I think it was a fantastic session. I learned a lot from you guys.
Thank you.
Like जो आता था और जो नहीं भी आता था वो भी सब कुछ बहुत चीज़ सीखने को और सुनने को मिली. And so thank you guys for being over here.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks for
us.
doing this.
Thank
you.
And thank you, Good Ads Matter, to create this round table, and it will be a learning for a lot of people who will be watching this episode. A lot of young talent would be inspired by listening to all these maestros sitting over here. I learned a lot, so thank you, Good Ad Matter. So it was amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.